What is mandatory frequency response?
So mandatory frequency response is a frequency response market. The clue's in the name. But when we think about frequency response markets, we tend to think about dynamic containment, FFR, and these are markets geared towards and dominated by battery energy storage. Right? A mandatory frequency response is not available to batteries.
So for years, people have talked about this kind of side frequency response market that no one really knows anything about.
Yeah.
So how does it work?
Okay, so it's basically for thermal plants.
Okay, so like big CCGTs, like gas power
Yeah,
stations.
yeah, West Burton, Seabank, those sorts of places. And the way it works is that if the ESO, for whatever reason, needs to procure frequency response that it can't do through its battery-dominated services, it will go to mandatory frequency response. And it's a pretty large market, significant, slightly smaller than DC in terms of volumes procured, around the same size as FFR.
So what we're talking in megawatts? How?
Over the last
putting you on the spot here.
per month, yeah, thanks. I've got all these numbers just in my head. Per month, well, there's three MFR services, right? So you've got primary, secondary, and high volume.
Like the old-fashioned FFR service, primary, secondary, and high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so per month, we're looking at about 350 meg primary, about 250 secondary, and about 500 high volume. I'm sure someone will prove me wrong on those numbers, but roughly that.
So 500-ish each way. So half a gigawatt of frequency response that is currently procured from big power stations by National Grid in this other thing that batteries currently aren't playing in.
Yeah, basically.
And how do you get paid?
How do you get paid? So there's a few ways you get paid. Like, so part of it is you need to be compensated for the headroom and footroom that you need when you have to adjust what you'd usually be doing as a thermal plant.
Sorry, headroom and footroom being...
So that's, if you think about when you need to provide frequency response, you need to be able to turn power up or down.
Yep.
And so you need to have that space there in terms of megawatts. So you need to be compensated for that. But really the main thing is, you're paid a fee for availability, to be armed, so you're ready to dispatch. And you basically say what you want to be paid and you bid in.
So the National Grid ESO Control Centre arms you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in like dynamic containment or FFR, you get paid pound per megawatt per hour.
Yeah.
But are you saying that in mandatory frequency response, you only get paid when National Grid, the control room, arms you?
There's a number of mechanisms for being paid. There's 4 mechanisms. But yeah, the main one you need to remember is that basically that arming fee.
Okay, cool. So when you're not armed, you're not getting paid, but you submit your prices and they choose to arm you if they need you.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, cool. Anything else we need to know about mandatory frequency response?
I'm sure there is.
There's more in the piece. I'm sure there's more in the piece.
Oh, well, I mean, it's interesting because obviously we're the battery guys. And you might think, why are we even bothering talking about this market that's not for batteries at all? But mandatory frequency response plays quite a significant role in how the ESO sorts out its price caps in DC, DMDR.
Because it's the alternative,
It's the alternative action, right?
Yeah.
So in order to figure out those price caps, the ESO estimates what it would spend on MFR, and that goes a large part of the way for those new dynamic elastic price caps we see in the dynamic suite of services.
Okay, so even though batteries aren't in this market, they need to understand it because it informs price caps in the other markets that batteries are in.
Precisely.
Cool. Well, we did it.
Sounds good, mate.
Thanks.
Thanks, Keir.